Welcome everyone to a very special race here on the channel. Alongside my usual iRacing Porsche Cup races, I'm also competing with my friends from New Zealand in the Wilver Racing League GT3 series, a fantastic private championship with some really competitive and respectful racing. Tonight, we are heading to the legendary Virginia International Raceway full course for race 9 of the season, a 60-minute endurance-style sprint with a challenging 40% fuel limit strategy where consistency in racecraft will be absolutely crucial. And if you'd like to join the Wilver Racing League yourself and race with this amazing community, you'll find the invitation link down in the video description below. Tonight's weapon of choice is the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup 992, one of the most raw and demanding race cars in iRacing. Powered by a naturally aspirated 4.0-liter flat-six engine, producing over 500 horsepower, this car is all about precision, momentum, and confidence on corner entry. For tonight's race at VIR, I'm running my own custom Sparko-inspired livery in a red-to-green gradient design with black accents across the center of the car. The aggressive color transition combined with the matte dark roof gives the Porsche a very unique endurance racing style appearance, especially under changing light conditions on track. After qualifying, New Zealand driver Ross Buchan secured pole position for tonight's race here at Virginia International Raceway. Starting alongside him on the front row is Australian driver Hayden Bath, while fellow New Zealander Donald Pittman lines up in third place after a very strong qualifying session. For me personally, I'll be starting further down the field in P15, representing Germany. So the goal for this race is clear. Stay clean through the opening laps, survive the chaos, and hopefully work my way forward over the course of the 60-minute event. With a very competitive international field from the Wilver Racing League on the grid tonight, this should make for some exciting racing. Now let's jump into the race highlights. Unlike in the Porsche Cup, the start procedure here in the Wilver Racing League GT3 series is a rolling start rather than a standing start. The safety car is now peeling off into the pit lane. The field is lining up nicely, and in just a few moments, race control will switch the lights to green. Green, green, green. We are underway at Virginia International Raceway, and the pack immediately storms down towards Turn 1, Horseshoe, as Race 9 is officially on. The field safely funnels through Turn 1 without any major contact, which is always a good sign at the start of a GT3 race. But heading into Turn 3, better known as NASCAR Bend, trouble breaks out between Ronald Allen and Ross Buchan. Buchan gets turned around in his Porsche, but fortunately he manages to recover the car and rejoin the track. Meanwhile, Sven Matthies is trying to stay attached to the two Corvettes of David Chalk and Joseph Harris ahead of him. The Porsche looking strong through the technical sections here at VIR, but keeping up with the straight line speed of those Corvettes will not be easy. Meanwhile, fellow Porsche driver Ross Buchan is rapidly closing back in on Sven Matthies after recovering from that early incident. You can already see the pressure building in the mirrors as the two Porsche 911 GT3 R machines begin to close up on each other. Trouble now at Oak Tree Corner. And this time it's another Porsche driver in trouble. Tim Sullivan. Now onto the long run towards roller coaster. And Ross Buchan is using the slipstream from Sven Matthies perfectly. The Porsche getting closer and closer with every meter down the straight. But is he already close enough to attempt the overtake? No, not this time. Not yet. Matthies holds the position for now, but the pressure from the recovering Porsche behind is clearly continuing to build. David Chalk in the number 15 Corvette runs wide and drops off the circuit. The other Corvette, car number 24, hesitates slightly while reacting to the situation ahead, and Sven Matthies immediately capitalizes on the opportunity. Matthies, Joseph Harris in the Corvette, and Ross Buchan in the Porsche are now charging 3 wide towards Horseshoe. 3 cars, side by side. This is an incredibly risky situation. Can they somehow make it through without contact? It worked! Somehow all 3 drivers make it through Horseshoe without contact. And Ross Buchan has now also managed to get past Joseph Harris in the Corvette. Harris suddenly finds himself under heavy pressure now because Ronald Allen in the bright yellow BMW is already closing in rapidly from behind. Wow, we now have 2 incredibly tight battles unfolding at the same time. Up front, Ross Buchan is hunting down Sven Matthies, putting the Porsche under constant pressure corner after corner. And right behind them, Ronald Allen is desperately trying to find a way past Joseph Harris in the Corvette. Ross Buchan gets a much better exit out of Oak Tree than Sven Matthies. The Porsche hooks up perfectly on corner exit, and Buchan immediately gains momentum down the straight. This could finally be the run he's been waiting for. And this time, it looks like Buchan has enough speed to complete the overtake. Joseph Harris is now starting to apply serious pressure on Sven Matthies ahead, but Harris makes a small mistake, and Ronald Allen immediately takes advantage of it in the yellow BMW. But now the 3rd Corvette driver, Kit Beale, is also in trouble. After a spin, the Corvette is left stranded right on the racing line through left hook. As lap 3 comes to an end, Ronald Allen is getting closer and closer to Sven Matthies, the yellow BMW carrying excellent momentum through the final corners, and now onto the start-finish straight. Allen finally makes his move, pulling out of the slipstream, drawing alongside, and launching the attack heading into turn 1. Matthies runs slightly too deep into the corner, and Joseph Harris immediately spots the opening on the inside. The Corvette slips through cleanly, and Harris also gets past Matthies. That was a costly mistake for the Porsche driver, losing another position in quick succession. We are now approaching the end of lap 6, and once again there is trouble near the start-finish straight. Another Corvette is stranded beside the circuit. Oh no, it's Kyle Franson who has gone off. Now in lap 7, Sven Matthies is rapidly closing in on Dale Bull in the Ferrari down the long straight towards Roller Coaster. Dale Bull makes a mistake through Roller Coaster and runs off the circuit. Matthies isn't sure whether the Ferrari is going to come back across the track, so he wisely lifts and brakes heavily to avoid a potential collision. And in the end, Sven Matthies safely gets past Dale Bull and picks up another position. At the end of lap 11, Kit Beale is applying more and more pressure on Sven Matthies. The Corvette is right there now. He's constantly filling the mirrors of the Porsche through the final sector. You can feel the tension building as Beale searches for any small opening to launch an attack. A clean but decisive pass there from Beale as he finally turns all that pressure into a gained position. Kit Beale in the Corvette is diving into pit lane, and after 22 minutes of racing, Sven Matthies has to head into the pits at the end of lap 11 for fuel 2. This is where the strategic side of the race now begins to play a major role with the strict 40% fuel limit in effect. Unfortunately for Sven Matthies, this pit stop takes significantly longer than expected. The crew has decided not only to refuel the Porsche, but also to fit a fresh set of tires. That extra service costs valuable time in pit lane. The fresh tires are still cold and offering very little grip, and that is exactly what catches Sven Matthies out. And Matthies runs off the circuit in Horseshoe, and Dale Bull in the Ferrari takes full advantage to move past and claim the position. And now there's another car in trouble beside the circuit. It's David Chalk. The Corvette is stationary off to the right-hand side of the track, and something clearly seems to have gone wrong there for Chalk. Fortunately for David Chalk, he's able to continue the race. Through South Bend, Dale Bull nearly loses the Ferrari, but somehow Bull manages to catch it just in time. That was a very close call. But now Sven Matthies loses control under braking for Oak Tree. The Porsche becomes unstable once again, as the tires still haven't fully reached operating temperature after the pit stop. Matthies slides wide and plows through the grass on corner entry. And while the Porsche struggles for grip, David Chalk drives straight past and takes the position. We are now into lap 17, and the yellow BMW driven by Ronald Allen is closing in more and more on Sven Matthies in the Porsche. You can already sense that Matthies is struggling to hold the pace after those difficult laps on cold tires. Allen looks faster at this stage of the race, and unless Matthies can find a way to defend, it may only be a matter of time before Allen finds a way through. Using the slipstream from Sven Matthies, Ronald Allen is getting pulled closer and closer down the straight. The yellow BMW now moves out of the draft, setting up for a classic overtaking move. With 16 minutes remaining in the race, Sven Matthies has to head back into the pits once again at the end of lap 23 for another fuel stop. And after the difficult outlap on cold tires earlier in the race, Matthies can only hope that the crew will not decide to bolt on another fresh set of tires this time. But once again, the pit crew decides to fit a fresh set of tires. The strategy is clear. Give Matthies maximum grip and performance for the final stint so he can push flat out to the finish. And here comes turn 1, Horseshoe. Can Sven Matthies finally make it through on these cold tires this time? No! At almost the exact same spot as before, the Porsche loses grip once again and Matthies runs off the circuit. The cold tires strike again and punish the Porsche driver immediately after leaving pit lane. Matt Usher, currently running in second place, is absolutely flying towards Sven Matthies. And once again, at the exact same section at Oak Tree where he struggled after the first pit stop, Matthies nearly loses the Porsche on the cold tires. This time he manages to keep the car on the circuit, but it costs him a huge amount of time and momentum, and that allows Matt Usher to come through and lap the Porsche. We are now in lap 27 with only 9.5 minutes remaining, and Christopher Tasker in the Porsche loses control and runs off the circuit. Another mistake late in the race, and Matthies takes full advantage. That gains him another position, moving the Porsche up to P11 for the moment. And now, in lap 30, with just 4 minutes remaining, Kit Beale exits the pit lane, and that costs him his 10th position to Sven Matthies. The Porsche sweeps past as Beale rejoins the circuit, promoting Matthies up another spot in the closing stages of this race. 1 lap later, now in lap 31, the penultimate lap of the race, Kit Beale has fought his way right back onto the rear bumper of Sven Matthies. The pressure is now enormous. Beale desperately wants to reclaim the 10th position he lost during the pit sequence, while Matthies is doing everything he can to hold on to a hard-earned top 10 finish. The big question now, can Matthies defend P10 until the checkered flag, or will Beale snatch the position back before the race is over? And Matthies makes a mistake. He misses the high-speed corner entry. The Porsche runs wide and goes off the circuit, and Kit Beale says, "Thank you very much," sweeping straight past and reclaiming his 10th position from Matthies. A painful error for the Porsche driver at the worst possible moment of the race. And P3 driver Dan Bartosz in his McLaren also takes advantage of the situation immediately and puts Sven Matthies another lap down. That mistake has proven extremely costly for Matthies in these closing moments of the race. After just over 1 hour of racing and 32 laps around the legendary Virginia International Raceway, the race finally comes to an end for Sven Matthies in the Porsche 911 GT3 R. Let's now take a look at the final race results and see who came out on top here at Virginia International Raceway. Congratulations to Hayden Bath from Australia for taking the victory after a very strong and controlled performance throughout the race. Matt Usher from New Zealand finishes in second place, while fellow Australian Dan Bartush completes the podium in P3. And for Sven Matthies, it's an 11th place finish after a race full of intense battles, strategy calls, and a few difficult moments on cold tires. Thank you all very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed the race, feel free to leave a like, a comment, and subscribe to the channel. It really helps continue growing the YouTube channel and bringing more racing content to you in the future. And with that said, see you in the next race.